Welcome to the Software People Stories. I'm Shiv.
I'm Chitra.
And I'm Gayatri.
We bring you interesting, untold stories of people
Associated with the creation
Or consumption of software-based solutions.
You'll hear stories of what worked,
and sometimes what didn't,
you will also hear very personal experiences.
and insights that would trigger your thoughts
And inspire you to do even greater things.
Our guest this week is Sanjay Jayakumar, founder and CEO of Ignitarium. When Sanjay asks that young engineers be patient and stay focused on end goals, it simply is a reflection, I feel, of his journey from where he started out as a hardware engineer with Wipro 3+ decades ago. He calls himself as lucky to have had various experiences at timely intervals of about 3 years, starting with working at the Wipro factory, then onto a hardware design team and setting up an SoC and an engineering center. These gave him an excellent and firm foundation to start Ignitarium. Sanjay dwells at length in this podcast about what it took to create and build the company, how the principle of adding value has been at the forefront of developing products and solutions, and what its culture is centered around. Hearing from a CEO and founder make this episode worth your listening time. And thank you, Sanjay, for a shout out to the Software People Stories podcast. We appreciate it. So, hello, Sanjay. A very warm welcome to you to the Software People Stories podcast. We're very happy to have you here with us today and looking forward to some exciting stories from you.
Hello, Chitra. Thank you for having me in this wonderful show. I am feeling honored and privileged to be part of this.
You're very welcome, Sanjay, and thank you once again. I would like to start by asking you about the beginning of your journey into technology and a career in technology. How far back do you want to take us, and where did this journey first begin?
I'll start from where the uncertainties, the phase of uncertainties, right? Like right when we were in school. So I had no idea where I was headed. So happened to be good in physics and mathematics. So engineering became a sort of a good choice for me those days. And electronics is something that I aspired to get into. So I signed up for a electronics engineering degree in College of Engineering, Trivandrum. This was in 1986. And again, the uncertainties continued because electronics is like such a vast sea, and like we were just getting introduced to the myriad possibilities. So again, through engineering also, I didn't have any idea like where we were headed. End of the course, I was so fortunate. Those days, those were the days when campus placement of opportunities were like few and far between. So I was so fortunate to have got selected into Wipro. So I joined Wipro, the computer factory of Wipro in 1991, February. So that's where the career started. So excited. I'm here in the space that I wanted to be and into a very nice organization. The journey through Wipro, and let me just clarify, I have worked before putting together Ignitarium. I have worked only in one place, and that was Wipro. The journey through Wipro, that is all of the 21 odd years there, was kind of marked by sort of distinct phases, right? Like initially it was like every 3 years. I was so fortunate to have gone through different opportunities to express myself and be of value to the ecosystem. The start was like I said, in computer factory. I was part of a group called engineering, which was the interface between the R&D and production. So our job was, look, those days Wipro used to do indigenous computers, designing from scratch. The R&D team does the design and comes out with new designs that needs to be evaluated and taken to production. Engineering is that function that actually takes over these designs from R&D, does evaluations, takes the TOT, transfer of technology, and supports the product through the product lifetime at production phase, right? So 3 years of fabulous learning there. It was not just hardware. I was a hardware engineer. It was not just hardware. I got an overall view of what it takes to kind of put a product together, including the customer aspects and things like that. So in 3 years, like most of us in the factory, our aspiration was, factory was in Mysore, and our aspiration was to get to Bangalore, where a lot of the action was. That was the headquarters, and R&D was there. So my aspiration was to get to R&D. Maybe I did some right things through the 3 years, and I got my opportunity to come and join the R&D team, where I started with hardware design of electronic hardware that goes into different computer systems. So about 3.5 years in that space. Around that time, Wipro was pioneering this move towards R&D, outsourced R&D being done from India. I got again an opportunity to be part of that, kind of transitioning myself from a electronic hardware engineer to a chip design engineer. The next few years, I also had some of my opportunities to interact with global customers, including Japan. So I got this opportunity to do an assignment, a short but very crucial assignment in my career, I would say, to go to Japan to support some of the programs that Wipro was trying to do with Japanese customers. Hitachi was my customer at that time. That was a whole new experience for me, overseas experience. Plus, it was like uncharted sort of territory, uncharted sort of areas. The design of libraries that go into making of semiconductor chips. So I was one of the first, if not the first engineer from Wipro involved in library development. What I started as just like a one-member team. Over next couple of years, I was able to kind of convert that into a ownership-based library development offshore team for Hitachi at Wipro. So again, like 3 years, and by around 2000, I got my next opportunity. SOCs were the thing at that time, and I was given an opportunity by my leaders in Wipro to pivot a SOC development program for Texas Instruments. So I again had the opportunity to go visit Texas Instruments in Texas, Dallas, and learn from the team there. Come back to Bangalore and set up a team that will support ownership-based SOC development from India. They started as a small 3-member, 4-member team. The next few years were sort of magical years, I would say. We were able to turn around very good response to the requirements from the customer. And we could scale this account from that 4-member, what we started, to over 4 to 5 years, we built it to more than about 400, 500 member team. And because I was one of the early members and the group that I got into really brought the scale, I was given the opportunity to kind of lead not just a few projects, but the entire account from Wipro standpoint. Right? So that was the 4th kind of phase at Wipro. And around my 15th year or so, another interesting opportunity I got at Wipro. This was Wipro's setting up a new development center in a tier 2 city. I was always charged about like doing something in my my native state, that is Kerala. So this was a location that Wipro was starting in Kochi. So I was given this opportunity by my leaders to kind of go try out few projects from there to start with, and perhaps in the process set up a development center for Wipro in Kochi. This again was an experience of a different kind. Apart from managing my projects and my commitments to the customer, here this was the first time an organization level opportunity was given to me, where I had to interact not just with my customers and my teams, interacting with a lot of cross-functional teams in kind of setting up a development center. I'm so happy that like this endeavor was quite successful. Over a period of 5 years, we could scale that development center to about 2000 plus. Most of the work, since semiconductor and product engineering was the one that seeded this center, most of the work through the initial periods that we could take to Kochi was in the product engineering space. And around 2010, one of the things that was happening was the industry was growing so fast. A lot of emphasis was on growth and numbers and things like that. Some of the qualitative aspects in my field, my personal opinion, some of the qualitative aspects were perhaps getting overlooked. And there were opportunities there, like the pedigree that we had within the organization. We could do an amazing job. What my experience has been at Wipro, all the learnings, what is a great way to be part of the product development ecosystem, what sort of thing works, what doesn't work, what's important to the customer, what is important to the teams, all those learnings, almost all of those learnings, I have no hesitation in saying that I picked up from my first organization. But then there is a bit of a discord within my own mind as to like, is this where I wanted to go? So I carried this for about a year, 2 years or so, which sort of eventually, resulted in me coming out from Wipro and putting together with a few other colleagues of mine, putting together Ignitarium. Ignitarium, if you ask me, was like a dream project, like putting together a tech-centric, value-based. When I say value, what we represent should bring incremental value to our customers who are in the business of putting together some amazing products. So how can we, in a tech-driven and value-based approach, sort of influence impactful products? That was the key thing for which we got together and put together Ignitarium. And at Ignitarium, it has been a journey of about 8 years plus, and the learning continues. That is what I would say. The learning continues. It has been quite an interesting experience. Getting out of your comfort zones, getting out of this platform where like a lot of things you could take for granted, and starting from scratch, rolling up your sleeves and getting to do anything, everything, right from opening and closing the office to making the coffee to talking to the customer to putting the team together to managing the deliveries and everything, right? Like doing it ourselves. A very enjoyable journey and experience so far.
Thank you, Sanjay. That sounds like a very interesting story. I can't wait to ask you more questions around your shift towards becoming an entrepreneur, and perhaps what is it that you can share with others as in terms of your learnings. So the
Sure.
first question is around the change that you experienced. You worked in Japan and then later with Texas Instruments in Texas. What was the difference in working with those two cultures, especially when you went to Japan, which is known to have its own standards and ways of working, and they are specific in what they expect and how they work as well?
The obvious cultural differences is the language and your comfort in terms of being able to understand everything around you and things like that, right? Like I'm talking about my personal experience at Japan versus my personal experience at US, or the Japanese customer against a US customer. The other element is like the pace at which these two geographies kind of move, especially when you're trying to engage in business. There is a much longer phase of evaluation, so to say, on the Japanese side as compared to the US side. The end analysis, if you look at it, both these geographies, people across are all trying to create successful products. So that way, the end objective is the same. If you look at what you have to offer, inherently what Sanjay as a person, or like Wipro as an organization, or Ignitarium as an organization has to offer is the same thing, right? It is the same thing, whether it is for Japanese market or for the US market, for any other market. The elements that we need to kind of tune is like a frequency tuning, I would say. The elements that you need to tune is like the way of functioning, the way of translating what value you have to deliver towards what product your principals who are sitting in some of these geographies are intent on. The learning is in that. Any and all of these learnings typically comes through experience. A lot of literature could be there. It comes through experience. And if you're open enough to go through these learning experiences, your ability to provide value is more or less the same in any geographies, I would say.
My next question, as a follow up to that, was you said that once you'd worked with both Japan and in Texas, you were able to come back and successfully set up the semiconductor offshoring piece here. And you said it really scaled. So I'm curious about how you scale so quickly and to ensure that processes were understood, because this is a space that which requires a lot of attention to detail. It has its own area of expertise and specialization. I'm sure a lot of training would have to have been in place and many other things like that. What did you do to scale so rapidly and enable an organization, to deliver successfully to these customer needs?
Disclaimer here, I wouldn't want to take a whole lot of credit here. First, let me go and talk about Wipro as an organization, right? All you have to do is just show up and look around. You are surrounded by such amazing people, right? Like, you're never in doubt. You think you're getting stuck. References are just like a call away, and literally just walk across to the cabin away. That environment itself was so charged, I would say, charged and so potent. Number one. Number two is in terms of processes and systems. It is like such an amazing setup out there where all the processes, like the aspects that you spoke about, the what it takes to scale in terms of capacity, what it takes to learn, what it takes to train, and things like all of those were naturally there. So that way, I was quite fortunate to be there. The other element of fortune, if I would say, is sometimes success is kind of characterized by being at the right place at the right time. So this particular opportunity, my personal opinion is it was also a case of being at the right place at the right time. There was a group which had acquired a lot of customers, and this was in the automotive space, and they were going slow on certain commitments. What happened that way is like a lot of backlog was building. But in the process, some fundamentally good stuff they had done. Now they were looking for people who could quickly understand their design methodologies, their philosophies, and their customer requirements, and help them translate, help them kind of replicate what they could replicate, what they could do inside in a certain scale. Wipro was like a perfect ground for that. Of course, my contribution there, I would say, is in terms of quickly understanding all of this and kind of translating those understandings or those requirements into an executable plan. I was given a lot of freedom in terms of choosing the seed team, model of execution, both from the customer side as well as my organization side. I was given flexibilities and support from the top to kind of put together in a way that I believe it would work. And some of the things very early in the build-up of this account that we did was putting the communication mechanisms in place, right? What needs to be communicated on what periodic basis, and how and by whom. All of those things we were able to put together in a nice way. From a technology standpoint, of course, these were challenging technologies. The selection of initial talent and the specific trainings that we had to set up within the account to manage the scale were important. These were other things that I personally focused on a lot in terms of sort of handpicking some of the people, some of the key people, both from the market as well as from within the organization. And the other one is like very early in the cycle, putting a repetitive training process. This training I'm talking about is a very the account specific or the product specific training that needed to be put together. All of this resulted in some good output, right? Over the year and a half, it resulted in good outputs, and this could create sort of a turnaround, I would say, for the customer business, right? Like in this particular group, they started seeing a lot of momentum in terms of engineering as well as in terms of their business traction with their end customer. Of course, all this visibility counted very nicely, and other groups also were keen and interested in sort of leveraging on some of the success that we were creating here.
It's a coming together of many small things that have been done well to create such a such an organization, I'm sure that would have attracted others also, and many may have even aspired to work in such a setup like that. Moving on a little bit towards your foray into becoming an entrepreneur, and you mentioned this earlier in the conversation, saying that there is a lot of discomfort. You're moving from a comfort zone of a large corporate with a lot of support, and like you said, you just had to look around and ask for help, and people would come and give it. What was that transition like? You had said that you wanted to carve a niche and keep the integrity, if I may, of what it takes to work on silicon, whether it's the design or verification and validation. And that probably led you to create Ignitarium. I'm sure there must have been a lot of doubt. There must have been challenges, moments where I'm sure you thought, why did I do this? Or why did I tread down this path? What were those initial days like? And what is it that you could share with us?
There was a lot of uncertainty there. And after 20 years or so, I was around 44 or something when I started this. One thing is, before taking that plunge, I really kind of sat down by myself to do some analysis. I'm getting into this. How prepared am I to get into this, like jump out of the comfort zone and things like that, including even like how do I manage my personal finances? How do I manage the whole element of going into this uncharted sort of territory as far as I'm concerned? So first important thing was to come to peace with myself internally, right? Like, so that took some time. And so to that extent, the decision was quite conscious. Like I would think that it would have taken anywhere 3 to 4 months time to say, yes, I want to do this. Now or never, I want to do this, right? So in that, decided some basic, very simple models I used. Like if I can take the example of personal finance quickly, like kind of figured like what are the must-haves, the good-to-haves, and the luxury kind of elements, and taking some decisions in terms of must-have, no compromise, good to have once in a while, indulge once in a while, and the luxury elements and things like that. Okay, can wait. And also, I gave myself a reasonably generous amount of time. Okay, go take 4 years. Nothing happens. Also, like sky is not going to fall down. We'll see at that point in time. So that put me in some a space of peace, right? The next one was that assembling the team, right? Like what will the initial team look like? So again, I spoke into my network only, spoke to the founders, all of the founders and a few others also. And I could see some people, of course, responded well, and some people were not ready and all. So over a lot of discussions and deliberations, we came to, okay, this is going to be how we see this, and this is going to be the team structure. And not everyone is going to come out at the same time. So that also we gave some. So okay, we'll take 9 months to assemble the entire. Right? So this is how I'll come out, and then the next person, and so on. This was all happening on one side. So there is this like global brand Wipro, and you are representing Wipro. You go there, and I'm from Wipro itself. If I say that itself, it gets you a meeting. To saying, by the way, I'm from Ignitarium. To pronounce Ignitarium itself would take a few tries for an average prospect we are reaching out to. The other one is like there is no backing, nothing other than some personal credibility. Of course, the initial reach outs were to the contact base, the wealth of contacts that we had at those times. Going back right to engineering days through the professional career. Some statistics here, I would have reached out to around 200 people saying that I intend to do this, and this is what it is about, and stuff. I got a lot of congratulatory messages and stuff, and a small set responded wanting to understand more. That was about 15%. After founding Ignitarium, and over the next year and a half, we had converted 3 of those people whom I had reached out to into customers, paying customers.
Wow, that must have been such a good start for y'all.
Yeah, it was a very nice start. I think all those elements that we were trying to represent, right? Like we were clear from the beginning that what we had to offer And we were also clear what we were not able to offer. And we were quite open about telling that as well. Okay, this is what we are. What we initially represented was core semiconductor capabilities, like design and architecture capabilities. Around that, our thought was we will build more semiconductor to start with. And what we represented had some value. So that did definitely help. But then what I wanted to emphasize on is like 3 out of the 200 results, right? So, but then the other values, what we spoke about also kind of rung well, I would say, with the customers. And some of the people at least were happy to try us out. Our first customer, we founded on December 2012, and the first order came in Feb 2013. In about a year, like I said, no, we had 3 customers. More on the journey, what started as offerings on engineering design services in semiconductor space gave us that start, but we were clear where we wanted to go is based on our understanding of how the semiconductor functions. We want to build system capabilities on top, helping the product development ecosystem from a system standpoint, right? Like, so for that, growing into software was important. So we looked internally, and our strengths on the semiconductor space were coming from on 2 areas. One is our understanding of system on chips. The other one is our ability to do signal processing intensive designs, typically in the multimedia space, image processing, video processing, and audio processing. So it was clear on the software side where we wanted to go. Semiconductor being the start point, we definitely wanted to build platform software capabilities. So that will be relevant to the semiconductor companies. And then taking off on our comfort on signal processing as it applies to image and video, we decided to embark upon multimedia on the software side. The reason, again, going back, is like we wanted to represent system capabilities, because that's where the impact that we can create as an organization will be more wider. Semiconductor, if there is one platform, there are n number of products that happen on that platform, and most of that is differentiated through software. So we were clear software capabilities we had to build. The next step, having built the platform software and multimedia, was what next can we do for the customer? The thing that occurred to us was multimedia content, whether we can help customers extract intelligence from the multimedia content. That is how we came into the artificial intelligence, neural networks based, analytics. So the evolution was, if you look at it, semiconductor to platform software to multimedia to ML. So this is how the organization sort of evolved.
It sounds like a beautiful evolution. In fact, I was imagining what we often refer to as S curves. You seem to have found that zone of transition right when it has mattered and built these capabilities. So very nice to hear that from you. Switching tack a bit to talking about building an organization and its culture. What was that like? I mean, how did Ignitarium come together as an organization through all of these evolutions? What is it that you all went through as the founding team to create and build that right culture and be the organization that you are today?
First thing is we have to look inwards, like what we really are as individuals and as professionals, what we really are, and then see like is that a strong enough core to kind of build what we want to build. So of course we cannot do everything ourselves. So we saw there were certain aspects we could represent, but there are certain other aspects that we need to bring in. We put a lot of emphasis in choosing that core team. So if we were to build the organization that we envisage it to be down the line, then we need to have people who think similar, people who represent deep and core values, deep and core technical capabilities, and other functional capabilities. So we spent a lot of time, thought, and energies into putting together the core team. I'm quite proud about the way we have put together the core team. It's an amazing team. I'm so happy to be working with this team. Then you spoke about the cultural aspects of it, right? Like, so whatever we represent, we have to be true to ourselves, then we can be true to the customer ecosystem. So again, we looked inwards only into putting together our core values. Things like I mentioned in the past also, like we should only be in business if we are able to bring incremental value to our customer. So value was important. Value addition was extremely important. And there should be some sort of unique proposition that we bring to the table that kind of enables some impactful product for our end customers. Right now, talking about values, very early in our organizational journey, we had this realization that we can say, okay, this is the value that we are delivering today, but it is just so transitional. Over a period of time, what we think as value today is going to become sort of commoditized, and it will become a basic hygiene element. So one of the aspects that one of the tenets, I would say, of the organization is this continuous evolution into future value creation. Right. So we invest significantly into technology areas that will represent the future areas of value that we will get into. Just if you look at how we have been doing over the past 7 to 8 years, roughly about 10% of our energies, 10% of our revenue, so whichever way you look at it, is spent into future technology development. A lot of it is towards engineering design services enabling initiatives. But over the period, what happened also is, again, coming from our need to be of greater value to the product development ecosystem. So today we are an engineering design services partner. Can we go from there to being a content-based solution delivery partner to can we even look at putting together our own products? So this thought was also there all along. I'm quite happy that this thought has helped us into kind of refining and defining our technology focus. Today, over the last 4 to 5 years, we have successfully come out with our own deep learning based visual inspection platform. It is called TyQi, TYQI. End application that we are targeting this platform to is civil infrastructure inspection and visual quality inspection in industrial environments. So what started as a small R&D initiative, future defining R&D initiative, we were able to refine and fine tune into a potent product offering from Ignitarium. This has been a continuous journey, and we are quite committed that this continuous journey of innovating and discovering what value we want to provide to the ecosystem in future, that commitment is going to continue forever.
That's very interesting. Yeah, Sanjay, extremely interesting. When you were narrating how you have pieced things together and how you look to the future or what you try to position for a future need, it is certainly a very fascinating narrative. Today around us, when people are talking about the interconnectedness of things and things like smart cities, what I am seeing is definitely a lot of what you all are doing will have a lot of application there.
So if I may little go back on some of the cultural elements that I kind of missed out, the one important thing that would contribute into what we are putting together is the team itself, right? Like, so what kind of environment are we creating for the team? What kind of cultural environment are we creating for the team was extremely important, right? So in that element, we were very clear. We wanted to create a culture that promotes innovation, at the same time gives a continuous learning opportunity for all the team members, right? And also promises individual growth for the team members. So this was extremely important. Like somebody comes and joins Ignitarium like 8 years back or like 5 years back or now. Anybody who comes into Ignitarium, of course, we are aware they have many choices. Why would they choose Ignitarium? We are committed at any point in time to provide these things like a culture of innovation, providing continuous learning opportunities, and providing individual growth opportunities for the team members. The team members, we try to give an environment where they feel it is their organization. They truly feel that it is their organization. So this is an important element. We are in the first place because of our customers, because of the business that our customers are giving to us, and we are enabled to be what we are by our teams. These two elements, like what we represent to our customers and what we represent to our teams, were extremely important elements into building of the organization, as far as I'm concerned.
Coming to the question of how is it that you think that industry should come together to create these partnering ecosystems? Because it's almost like the days of these standalone products are over. There's a mix of capabilities and products coming together in any ecosystem to enable the flow of value, if you will. So, what are some of your thoughts on how is it that technology can facilitate the building or the coming together of such ecosystems so that eventually anybody in any business should simply be able to plug into such an ecosystem and get their business workflows up and running?
Technology evolution is happening in such fast pace that it is quite difficult for new companies to be able to do everything within, right? So collaboration is so important. It's kind of paramount if you were to succeed in the environment. So we have to be clear in terms, each organization has to be clear in terms of what is the value proposition that they hold. Ignitarium has to succeed. Ignitarium has to be clear in terms of what Ignitarium can bring to the table and what are the elements that Ignitarium is limited by. And at the same time, there are so many amazing players out there who are doing a great job out there. We have to recognize that, acknowledge that, and be able to go into a level ground and form arrangements that work for both parties, right? So this we have always tried. It's easier said than done, but we have always tried to be aware of this and be sort of receptive to building these relationships. I can talk about a number of those relationships. One example is we were going into the software space. As we were building into the software space, one of the elements that many of our customers, especially the small and medium customers, were looking for is hardware development. That is electronic hardware development. So Ignitarium from the beginning was clear that like we are not going to do hardware development ourselves. So we looked around, identified a few like-minded companies and partnered with them. And it was only because of the support and help that we got from those partners that we were able to create some successes that we have created for our customers in the past. Many such cases have resulted in continuous engagements. Interestingly, sometimes the partner whom we brought to the table would have become the dominant customer. That is perfectly okay. And many other times we would have continued to be the dominant customer. The aspect of the element that that partner brought to the table was extremely important in terms of stitching that overall relationships. From a business standpoint, it is mutually so beneficial. And for the customer sort of gets the best of both worlds, if I may use the words, the flexibility and the agility of small organization, but at the same time, kind of one point contact for getting many or all of their product development done.
I think your response, Sanjay, is a great start to this question. In fact, throughout somewhere in the middle of this conversation, I was thinking there is potential to actually dive deep into several of the areas that you have mentioned. Uh-huh. And, I hope we do get a chance to do that sometime, in the future. Because I just noticed that we've been talking for quite some time, and we usually ask our guests if there is a message that you would like to leave for aspiring engineers wanting to get into the field of technology or software. What is it that you would like to share with them?
Okay, for young engineers, I'll start with a comparison, right? Like 20, 30 years back when we started, there were only so many references, right? Like there were only so much content around that you could refer to and build on. So we ended up doing a lot of from scratch. If I look at coding, right, like we ended up doing a lot of from scratch coding, from scratch development, and so on. Compared to those days, today there is so much of content out there, so much of development that has happened, so much of technological advancements that have happened. The engineer who's coming today has like myriad possibilities to refer into, reuse code that they could reuse, and so on and so forth. One key element that also came along with those technological developments is the broader avenues where the engineers could create impact. Compared to 30 years back, the amount of products that were coming out to today, it was like many orders of magnitude higher. So that way, the amount of impact towards creating end-use scenarios or creating products for end-use scenarios is so immense. The opportunities for engineers to play a role has become so broad. Engineering ingenuity can be brought in today, even if like many cases, like we keep cribbing about, like there are not many cases where like people are sitting down and writing code from scratch. Yeah, is that what it is all about, or is it about enabling impactful products, right? Like, so there are so many more opportunities. I would say the young engineers should look at these possibilities and kind of embrace this space. There is so much of value you guys can add. I'm a fan of new talent that comes out. So they're buzzing with energies, and the possibilities that they have in front of them are immense. We need all of those energies to take this technological advancements in the world forward. So it is a great space to be in for the engineers. One small thing is, I would request the engineers to stay patient and stay focused on the end goals. See, if you can, whatever you set out to do it in such a way that people around will say, okay, that work product looks special because you did it. So I would leave these two messages to the young engineers.
I think they're certainly special messages, Sanjay. And thank you so much for sharing them. And I also wanted to say thank you so much for your time. I would certainly look forward to many more conversations. I think this is just the beginning. I really appreciate you sharing all that you did about your story and your journey. Thank you once again.
And Chitra, thank you once again for having me here. I must say, deep appreciations from my heart for putting this together, because you're providing such a platform with such enormous amount of experience sharing. And I am sure, I'm going to be tuned into your platform to hear experiences and learn from the experiences of several great people whom you have covered through your program. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sanjay. That's very kind of you. Thank you. We thank Siddharth for the music and Anita for promoting the Software People Stories.
If you like this episode,
Please subscribe on your favorite podcast client.
And spread the word in your network.
if you'd like to share your story,
Contact us at podcasts@pm-powerconsulting.com.